evening, dear teachers. Thank you for joining with me on my debate speaking. I have invited 5 teachers with us today: Miss Fatina, Miss Dia, Miss Akila, Miss Darshini, and Mr. Faris. Today we are going to talk about something that is very interesting. Do vernacular schools destroy multicultural education in Malaysia? What are the implements of having or not having vernacular school? So I would like to ask Miss Fatina, do vernacular schools benefit students? How?
Yeah, hi, Miss Arisha. Okay, so for vernacular, school, yes, it does benefit student because student have a better conceptual understanding. Okay, when concepts are explained in familiar words, phrase, and conceptual settings, it's become easier for students to understand them fully and retain them over time. Okay, and then the second benefits, which is regional dialects and add richness and diversity. Okay, each region has its unique culture, which adds color and vibrancy to our acquired knowledge and shared identities. And then the other benefits, which is it encourages critical thinking. Okay, understanding multiple points of view helps develop critical thinking skills. This phenomenon shows that the highest impact after students enter the job market and start collaborating with other students. It also builds student confidence because being able to learn in one's mother tongue boosts confidence level and makes school a more welcoming environment overall with lower dropout rates. Okay, and the last one, okay, it will lead to improve learning outcomes. Okay, research has shown that when concepts are explained by using familiar words and phrases, it leads to improved comprehension and retention rates among students. I think that's all for my points. Thank you, Miss Harisha.
Thank you so much, Miss Fatina. That was a brief explanation. Okay, now I would like to ask Miss Akila, what is the experience of teaching in a vernacular school?
Hi, everyone. Good evening, teachers. Okay, actually, I have experience in teaching vernacular school, which is in SMK. So, the experience that I have learned is actually there are like multicultural school. There are like Indian student, Chinese student, and also Malay student. Okay, there is one of my class like the ratio of the non-Malay and Malay student is like 1:1. So actually, there are in that class, the student does not have any problem in having like a group work. They do not have any Malay with respect. If they're like the Malay student need to have fasting, something like that, so they do not eat or drink in the class. Okay, so and then they like the bonding between the non-Malay and Malay student is like they bond with each other. Like there are no gap between the Malay, the Chinese, and the Indian student. So I think it's like quite a good experience for me because I never in that class. I mean there are like more than like 10 students of non Indian student. I mean that they are like having the Malay student does not have any problem to communicate with them. So if there is a group work, they do not have any difficulties to talk with them. They do not fight with each other. So it's one of my experience in vernacular. I mean, the Chinese and the Indian student, instead of in SMK, they have the opportunity to join the competition among, the competition, they do not have like, okay, this competition is only for Malay student. No, it's not like that. I mean, every student have the opportunity to join the competition. Okay, so that's all for me. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Miss Akila. I would like to ask you a question. So, did you ever face any kind of difficulties with cultural races of students in one school?
for me, I'm not controlling in one school. I mean, for my class, I do not have any difficulties because they do behave. I mean, they respect the teacher. The non-Muslim student respect me as a Muslim student, the Muslim teacher. They do not have any problem. They do not. They respect me as a teacher. I mean, so there's no difficulties for me to handle the student.
Okay, thank you so much, Miss Akila.
So,
Okay, I would like to ask a question to Mr. Faris right now. So, Mr. Faris, how do vernacular school affect unity?
Okay, thank you, Ms. Arisha. Okay, so in point of view, okay, vernacular school can affect a unity in Malaysia both positively and negatively. Okay, first of all, I will talk first about the negative effect of vernacular school. As we know, vernacular schools, or specifically this education system, is race-oriented. Okay, so it does not help to bridge the gap in racial unity. So in addition, limit the opportunities for interactions among the peers in different ethnic group, right? So therefore, there is a lacking in the sense of togetherness as a nation, since each vernacular school has its own system to meet the needs of respective race. It shows it shows gaps in our education system as there is no standardized exposure to students. So, and then now I will talk about the positive effect. So as a nation, we can establish the cultures of respecting the right of other races. Although Malay is the dominant race and Malay and Islam is the main religion in the country, we still practice to respect others and ensure the well-being of other races. Okay, in this way, it helps unite the races and ethnic in Malaysia. Okay, although medium of instruction is used differently in each vernacular schools, however, they still include main subject, right? So such as Malay language, science, mathematics, okay, in their daily basis. Therefore, these vernacular schools have proven that as a nation, okay, so we respect all races as well as ensuring their welfare. Okay, in conclusion, what can I say that vernacular schools do affect unity in Malaysia both positively and negatively, depending on individual perceptions. So I think that's all, Ms. Harisha. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Faris, on your feedback. Miss Dia, I would like to ask Miss Dia, in your opinion, of your view, what do you think in Malaysia most parents send their children to vernacular school according their race?
Thank you, Ms. Harisha, for the question, and good evening, everyone. So, in my opinion, why do parents send their children to vernacular school? I think, it's definitely the choice or the decision of parents to send their children to vernacular school, right? So, one thing that I think that most likely to be the reason that parents send their children to vernacular school is they want them to practice the medium of language. So for example, when we have SJKC for Chinese, so they want to keep the language going at home, at school. So in this way, it will help the children to keep their mother tongue, to keep practicing their mother tongue language at home, at school, or among their friends and teachers. The other way could be that parents want to give their children a different exposure, different perspective and exposure. So as we know that in local school, they may be it's local, they may be a different perspective and exposure, but in SJKC, in SJKT, if we send our children, for example, if Malay students go to SJKT or SJKC, they will receive a different exposure, different to a local one. And as we know, in vernacular schools, such as in vernacular schools generally, sometimes they have better connection in terms of PIBG with parents. Okay, so parents would likely to have better opportunity. They think of having better opportunity in vernacular schools. Other than that, I think when vernacular school has different environment, okay, it helps the students to stick with the language to get better understanding in terms of their learning and environment. So in my point of view, that those are most likely the reason why parents would send their children to vernacular schools.
So in your opinion, Miss Dia, do you agree for parents to send their children to vernacular school following their races?
Following their research. So in my opinion, there's, as I think Mr. Faris, Ms. Fatina, or the previous teacher has mentioned, there are pros and cons to sending our children to vernacular school according to the races. So it really depends on your understanding, on your acceptance towards these schools. So I think I think there is chances of uniting students from different races when you send children to vernacular schools, but there are also gap in uniting them as well. So yeah.
Okay, thank you so much, Miss Dia. And last but not least, I would like to ask Miss Darshini, how is the education value in vernacular school?
Oh, thank you for the question, Ms. Harisha, and good evening, everyone. So the value of education in vernacular school is not as different as the other school. As we all know, vernacular school is the teaching in mother tongue. Okay, mother tongue is like psychologically significant to students, especially in children. Okay, it helps develop perspective as language and thoughts that are connected. So it's impossible to think without the knowing of the language, right? So when you know the language, when the children know the language, it's easier for them to grasp whatever knowledge that they gain in school. Okay, and not only it helps in school, like when they go back to the parents, when they don't understand certain thing, the parents find it easier for them to also teach the children. So the usage of mother tongue as teaching medium actually improves the cognitive abilities, as it is easier for children to understand the lesson in the mother tongue. Okay, so this will actually lead to a faster learning environment. And it is found that even in research, it is found that changing the learning medium from like switching from mother tongue to different languages actually makes students insecure sometimes. Okay, I will say like they feel it's like a change of environment. Imagine like you're speaking Tamil or Chinese or Malay in your household, and then when you go into a school, it's like totally different foreign language to you. So it's like it's different. So when you put them in a vernacular school, they feel comfortable. So they think, okay, I belong here. That kind of feeling. So it does add value if you ask me. So students sometimes when you switch them to non-vernacular school, they find it hard. They find it difficult to cope. They don't like the school. And according to some research, the education that they provide, actually a lot of students stopped the school. Like the drop-off rate increased. That's what I think Ms. Fatina said just now. So yeah, it definitely adds value. And coming from a vernacular product myself, so I went to SJKC. So yes, it was definitely different for me, but I was not much, how can I say, it's not like a very tough, but you just have to learn an extra language. So when I have extra language, knowing Mandarin now, definitely it adds a lot of value, because we know Mandarin is now also a global language. So yeah, I think it does add value in my point of view.
Thank you so much, Ms. Dashi. I just have another question, an open question to all teachers. There's this one time in vernacular school that they have changed the language, which is, if I'm not mistaken, like for me when I was in a convent school, for it based on full English. So they changed the language. Suddenly from English, they make it as Bahasa Melayu is compulsory. And then they have changed it again into English for out of nowhere. So what is your opinion that this situation can affect students in any way, that you have any opinion or in your point of view? So can anyone answer?
Before that, can I ask you a question? What do you mean by they change the language? Is it in terms of giving when teaching or giving instructions?
When teaching, the government changed the language, that they said they wanted to change everything asal Bahasa Melayu, Bahasa Malaysia, so that everyone would understand and they can learn much more easier. Because as we know, not much students really able to speak in English and communicate in English in all daily time basis. But Bahasa Melayu is one of our we can also say as our first language, because most of our schools we do use Bahasa Melayu. So in that opinion, even though in my time we had this term where they changed the language, they said it should be compulsory in Bahasa Melayu for all schools. So what is your opinion in this? Do you think will this affect students when they learn in English, then suddenly they change the language? Maybe Mr. Ashni, can you?
Yeah, I would like to share just an experience. I remember this happening just right before when I finished secondary. So I was like the last batch. So it was like happening, and my juniors were complaining, saying that there was a sudden switch, like totally different, and not just in like language. They find it difficult to cope. Okay, maths, they say it's still okay, especially science, like sodium chloride became sodium chlorida something. So it's like it was hard for them to cope, especially secondary. So the primary ones they still managed, but the secondary found it very, very difficult to cope up. So I think there's pro and cons. It depends on like how your core language is. If you're very good in Malay, then maybe you would find Bahasa Melayu easier. But if you're really too used to being in English, and you've already, you know the syllabus back of your head, so you will find it very, very hard. So yeah, students did struggle at that point, but I think somehow they adapted with the help of teachers. I think even teachers struggle, to be honest. Yeah, even my teachers, I think they said it's like, a sudden shift that time. So it was an adaptation, but I think now it's I think they switched back to English, if I'm not mistaken, or is it still in Malay?
As what I have studied, it's still in bilanguage.
Oh, is it bilanguage? Okay. I think later after that they switched to bilanguage.
So they use both languages. So in my point of view, I think bilanguage should be okay, because some students do understand English and some students do understand Bahasa. So bilanguage can help both of them. Okay.
Yeah.
So right.
That will be fair.
Yeah.
Like sometimes you're stuck when you're writing an exam, then you don't know the word, but you know it's in Malay, it's called something. So you just write down as long as the teacher understands.
Yeah. Okay, thank you so much, teachers. Okay, I have another question. So I'll be asking this in Bahasa. Ada satu kajian mengatakan sekolah vernacular ini tidak menjejaskan pendidikan berbagai murid. Apakah pandangan cikgu? Mr. Faris, I would like you to answer.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Harisha. Okay, so saya akan jawab dalam bahasa Melayu. So seperti mana yang kita tahu, okay, banyak kajian sebenarnya, okay, menerangkan pasal sekolah vernacular ni. Okay, seperti mana yang kita tahu, sistem vernacular ni dia merupakan sistem yang dah lama sebenarnya digunakan di Malaysia, iaitu sejak pertengahan tahun 40-an, 50-an. Kalau kita nak katakan sekolah vernacular ni dia menjejaskan pendidikan, maksudnya dari awal lagi, dari dulu lagi dia dah berhentikan sebenarnya. So itu membuktikan bahawa sekolah vernacular ni still valid sampai sekarang. Okay, di mana pelajar berlainan kaum juga dapat menguasai apa bahasa ketiga. Contohnya kalau pelajar Melayu join, okay, sertai sekolah bahasa Cina, dia dapat belajar sebenarnya bahasa Cina tu. Okay, so ia mampu menjamin masa depan yang kukuh, terutamanya bila pelajar tersebut bersaing dekat dalam dunia pekerjaan sebenarnya. Okay, so lagi satu, sistem pendidikan vernacular ni mempunyai kelebihan tersendiri berbanding sekolah kebangsaan, betul? Okay, so tapi di sini saya nak akuilah, so kurikulum sekolah vernacular ni perlu ditambah baik. Okay, sebenarnya dari segi kurikulum juga, dia perlu ada ciri-ciri patriotisme. Okay, supaya mereka yang keluar tu, okay, mungkin daripada sekolah vernacular, bila dia keluar, walaupun dengan bahasa lain, dia tahu. Dia ada berpengetahuan yang dapat menuju kepada perpaduan as yang kita bincangkan hari ini. So I think that's it. Okay, dia tidak menjejaskan pendidikan langsung.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Faris. Okay, so thank you so much, teachers, for joining with me today. Thank you so much. Have a great day, everyone. So I will end this debate over here. Thank you. Have a great day. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.
Ms. Harisha. Bye-bye, everyone.
Thank you, Ms. Arisha.